Welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And of course, I have to confess that what we're doing this time, I mean, this poetry is so difficult, and the syntax is tough, and the Hebrew's tough, and there's so much Rashi. I sort of put in a little personal prayer before we started today, saying, "God, please don't let me mess up today." I prepared it, but then my memory, I can prepare it and then doesn't seem to make a difference. Anyway, going into the screen share. All right. So we did this yesterday, Levi. We did this. And so we're on to verse 9 right now. Let me just move this here. Okay. Omer, we did this. We did the sentence. We just didn't do the Rashi on it, right? But I'll review it, right? Omer la'aviv u'la'imor, who says, this is now talking about the Levites, right? The tribe, says to his father and his mother, Lo re'itiv, I didn't see him. But it's referring to the mother and the dad. In other words, I didn't see them, although re'itiv means I didn't see him. If one of you is not muted, please check that out. Check and make sure you're muted. I'm getting some feedback. Ve'et echav, and his brother, lo hikir. So this is all parallel, right? He did not recognize. Ve'et banav lo yada, nor did he know, literally, right? His son, kishru imratecha, because they guarded your ways. Excuse me. Okay. Guarded your words. They guarded your words, your sayings. Perhaps is a little more accurate, right? Amar, to say. Uvritcha yinsoru, and again yimsoru, and they again the same word. I mentioned this yesterday, right? Guard. I can't think of too many. Maybe we can say watched your words and guarded your covenant. Okay. So let's take a look at the Rashi on this. So this is of course, I will tell you that on a pshat, very superficial level, it's referring to the incident of the golden calf, and it's referring to where the only tribe that was totally loyal to God at the time and rejected the golden calf was the tribe of Levi, which is why they got that position in the temple, because they proved it through their behavior that they were worthy of serving God in this unique kind of way. So, Ha'omer la'aviv u'la'imor la'ritiv, who says to his father and his mother, I didn't see him. Here we go. Keshechatu ba'ego, when they sinned, that is when the Israelites sinned regarding the golden calf. Va'amarti, and I said, this is Moses speaking, and I said, Exodus 32, Mi lashem olai, whoever is for God, come to me. Come with me. Ne'esfu Elai, they called B'nai Levi, the entire tribe of Levi gathered to me. V'tzivitim laharog, and I commanded them to kill et avi imo, his mother's father, in other words, his maternal grandfather, who would not have been a Levite, okay? Vahu mi Yisrael, and that maternal grandfather was from the Israelites. In other words, assuming that he had worshipped the golden calf. Or et achiv me imo, or his stepbrother through his mother. So in other words, people who were, Rashi is showing us how the Hebrew, which is talking about people who, in a very, if we didn't have this interpretation, would also be Levites. So here they are, nevertheless, father, grandfather, father, not too different there, technically, and brother, stepbrother, or et ben bito, or the son of his daughter, and assuming that his daughter had married an Israelite, the Levite daughter had married an Israelite, and so their son would be an Israelite, and therefore would have worshipped the golden calf. V'chein asu, and they in fact did it. Now, of course, this is very, it's one thing to try to understand how Rashi's helping us understand the verse. And then on the other hand, there's this whole incident, of this killing going on the basis of religious behavior. And again, trying to deal with those sorts of issues, because the idea of killing people for religious reasons, given the fact that we have things like the Spanish Inquisition, and to this day, we just had that incident of the woman, I believe, in Afghanistan, who was killed by the morality police. I'm afraid my liberal side just speaks to me too strongly, and I have to try to understand literature. I don't want to take this literally. I want to take it in the sense of somehow some level of spirituality. And I will tell you, I do not have a simple solution yet, other than sort of not having anything to do with such people, kind of moving them away from this. But I have to tell you, regardless, I simply.
It was in Iran.
Yeah, okay, Judith, did you want to say something?
It was in Iran, not
Oh,
Afghanistan.
Iran, sorry, Iran. Well, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, it was in Iran. I'm so sorry. It's just, obviously they have somewhat similar administrations there, but yes, thank you. And thank you for the correction. Right. And in some ways, Iran is supposed to be a little bit more progressive than Afghanistan. So what can I say?
Rabbi, I remember when we read that book about the Kotzker Rebbe,
Yes.
and one of his things was his piety overrode everything that was considered good in modern life, including family, so that he would not have any relationship with any family member who wasn't his version of a complete tzaddik and Torah observant Jew to the extent that he was. And that was you could kind of see both sides. Now, this is not the same as killing them, killing your family members for not being observant. It's just like staying away from them because you don't want to be contaminated by their impurity. I have trouble with even that. But and in fact, sometimes to any extent that I'm less observant has to do with my family, and wanting to be with them and despite the fact that things aren't going to be,
Right. Yes. So you know that there's a story that goes on the other, about the prince who thought he was a rooster. It's a famous story, right? And I'll say it very quickly is anyone who doesn't know this particular story.
Do not know it.
Okay, good. All right. In that case, so there was a king who had a son who thought he was a rooster. He ran around naked in the dirt, scratched, ate worms, just crowed like a rooster, etc. And he tried to cure his son of this particular craziness, and no one could do it. And then a wise man showed up and said, I think I can do it. So he said, okay. The wise man went out, took off all his clothes, and ran around and scratched in the dirt and ate worms along with the son. And the son saw him and said, oh, he said, I have a friend, another rooster. So the two of them went around for a while like that. And then on one morning, the man put on some clothes. And the rooster said, what are you doing? The son said, what are you doing? And the man said, well, a rooster can wear clothes. It's okay. And the son thought, oh, well, I do feel cold very often. Maybe I will. And the son put on some clothes. Okay, so now you're getting to understand the process. So a few weeks went by, and the wise man decided to eat some regular food. And the prince said to him, what are you doing? And he said, well, you should try this. Roosters can eat other stuff besides worms, or raw corn or whatever. And the son tried it. He said, oh, this actually tastes pretty good. And of course, went through the whole process until the son was acting like a normal human being. But the point was, the son was acting like a normal human being, and thinking he was a rooster. And this is a famous sort of Hasidic story about the minhag or midat Hasidut, that what a true Hasid does is doesn't, goes and comes with people, and by kindness and companionship and this kind of thing can help people become human beings. Okay. Fulfill
Yes, but first they had to go down to the level of
the
the
point.
person.
Correct.
You can't just say, "Oh, be like me right now."
No, no.
You know,
And the
so you have
guilt
to,
and stuff like that. So
and
I
they
would,
have to see why it works and why they should do it.
yes, exactly, exactly. And there's no
Mhm.
coercion. There's no coercion involved. By the way, just very recently, when we were down in Southern California, on the pier, and there was these people with very loud loudspeakers telling people they were going to go to hell unless they believed in Jesus. And I said to my family, I said, you know something? I said, if I had that job to do, I'd take a very different approach. You know what I would do? I'd take those loudspeakers and I'd say, listen, I don't know if you have anyone in your family who's ill, and if you'd like us to pray for them, or if they're, going through whatever adversity, we will be very happy to pray for them. Period. Period. And not tell people that they're going to go to hell because they don't believe in Jesus. And I said, I'll bet you I'll get more converts that way than by telling them they're going to go to hell unless they believe in Jesus. It's just a bad approach. And the truth is, I struggle myself. The truth is, I often look at my own, I really do. I look at my own level of righteousness or lack of it. I look at the fact that I struggle to study Talmud, that very often my brain just doesn't seem able to, comprehend the complex arguments, etc., even though I appreciate it, and certainly I'm further along the path than I was when I started out. And where I'm at today right now is, I've been working on Midrash Kohelet. There's the Art Scroll edition. I don't get paid for this advertisement, but I got a copy of the Art Scroll Kohelet, and I overcame my arrogance in saying I can just handle the Hebrew, and I go over it in Hebrew first, and then with Eitz Yosef, which is a favorite commentary of mine, and then I look at the English side with all the footnotes, and I'm finding that extremely satisfying. And of course, there's so much material even there. Just one human being, and given the fact that I don't have just time to study, it's really very, very helpful. And it's become a real source of joy. And I figure after Sukkot, because that's when you read the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, the next holiday that involves a Megillah, of course, is Purim. So Purim coming up, I'm going to take out the Midrash on the book of Esther, and I'll start working on that. And I'm figuring that this is what I'm going to devote myself to. And it's not that I won't look at Talmud at all, but the truth is that, I just can't live my life. There's a term that they use in a yeshivish, in other words, in the yeshiva, where they study these things and all the details, et cetera, and they have a society which supports all that kind of behavior. I don't live in that society. On the other hand, the Midrash, provides me with tremendous insights and lessons and ways to act. And I'm hoping that that's an appropriate way in which to serve God. I mean, that's really what I believe we're here to do. So just to share some of that personal struggle going on. So, and it's such a privilege to have this group, to have you, to meet me almost every day of the week, and to take a look at this lovely, lovely material and challenging material. And, the stuff we were doing doesn't so lovely, but certainly challenges our minds. And this is good. Okay, back to the Rashi. The Ifshar, that's the Aleph. So we just said that the Levites they joined Moses, they joined forces with Moses, and they served God in the sense of acting in a very, very radical kind of way and destroying the idolaters. So I think the idea of trying to fight idolatry and trying to destroy idolatry as opposed to idolaters, right, is an acceptable concept. I can understand that, because I think idolatry is extremely destructive. And so being able to try and, find people who can help one destroy idolatry is a lovely thing. So I think, that would be the way I would approach this. At any rate, the Ifshar lefaresh aviv mamash, because it's impossible to explain aviv, his father, literally, mamash, right? His real father, the achiv me aviv, and it's not going to be his brothers from his father, because his father's a Levite too. Okay, he's a Levite. His father's a Levite, and his brothers from his father's side, even if they're step brothers from his father's side, they're all going to be Levites. V'chein banav mamash, and likewise, literally his children, they're all Levites. So why would they be killed, right? Shaharei Leviim heim, because after all, Rashi's saying they're Levites. V'mishevet Levi lo chata echad mehem, and from the tribe of Levi, not one of them sinned. Shinemar kol b'nei Levi, because it says all the children of Levi. All right, kishamru imratecha, because they watched, we're going to say, right? But watch in the sense of guarding, right? They watched your words. Lo, and what were the words? What were those words? Lo yeh lacha Elohim acherim, right? That's in the Ten Commandments. You shall not have other gods. Uvritcha yinsoru, and they guarded your covenant. Brit milah. Aha. Quite literally, we're talking about the bris, the circumcision, the covenant of circumcision. She'otam shenoldu b'midbar shel Yisrael, because we already may know from back when we read, when Pesach time, whatever, we read Joshua, right, that those who were born in the wilderness, in the desert, who were Israelites, shel Yisrael, lo malu et bneihem, they did not circumcise their sons. And there was a reason for it, okay? And let's see, I'm going to see if, in fact, Rashi explains it here. But the reason is there wasn't a northerly wind, which is considered to be a healing wind. And of course, they were wandering through this desert. But regardless, they didn't circumcise them. V'heim hayu mu'alim. And the Levites, they were circumcised, umalin et bneihem, and they did, in fact, regardless, circumcise their sons. That's guarding the covenant. Sfarim achirim. There are other versions, there are other texts or manuscripts. Or tam shel noldu b'midbar l'Yisrael, those who were born in the wilderness to the Israel or tam shenoldu b'midbar, in other words, referring to circumcising the Levites, circumcising those who were born in the children who were born in the desert. She Yisrael lo malu et bneihem, because they didn't, the Israelites, the children who were born of Israelites, did not, forgive me, because the Israelites did not circumcise their sons, v'hem hayu molin. But of course, those Israelites that had left Egypt they were in fact circumcised. We'll see if this, I think that's it for the Rashi on this. Okay, so take any comments, otherwise I'll dip into one more verse. All right, so we're on to the next page. Yoru mishpatecha leYaakov. This is a fairly lengthy blessing for Levites. They shall teach your statutes to Jacob, the Toratcha, and your Torah to Israel. Right, your laws, if we want to do that, or yeah. Okay. Yasimuk Torah ba'apecha. They shall place incense in your af is nose, nostril, in your nostrils. Uchlil al mizbechatecha, and whole offerings on your altars. On your altar. Again, a little bit hard to understand. So, Yoru mishpatecha, they shall teach your statutes. Re'uyim elulacha, they are worthy of doing it. In other words, you don't teach these laws and don't practice them yourselves. You have to be 100%. You have to be 100%er. So not a lot of Rashi on this. Chlil refers to the Olah offering, meaning because we know that the entire animal was essentially burnt, most of it on the altar. The skin was given to the Kohen, and remember, Kohanim were from the tribe of Levi. So this is referring to Kohanim. Looks like we can take in possibly one more verse. Barech, so we can finish up Levi. Barech Adonai Chelo, may Hashem, may the Lord bless his substance, Ufo al Yadav, and the work of his hands, Tirtzeh, may it be desirable. Machatz Motnaim Kamav, may he press down the loins of those who rise up against him, those who rise against him, umisanav min yukumun, and those who hate him, right? Those of his enemies again, right? Min yukumun, and basically what it says is, may they not again have a place, may they not rise. Okay, so we'll see here. Machatz motnaim kamav, right? So I think machatz is to like press down. Shirabeth, do you have a better translation, or do you think I'm close enough there? Or Lauren, do you have a translation?
Yeah, it sounds right to me.
Yeah, right. So machatz kamav, he will press down on those who rise up against him. Makat motnaim, a strike of the loins. Ke'inyan shenemar, in the same way, in the same sense in which it is said in Psalm 69, umotnehem tamid umad, and may their loins totter constantly. Va'al ha'ma'orarim, and what's this referring to? It's referring to ha'ma'orarim ala kahuna, those who were contesting the priesthood, amarchen. Thus did he say. In other words, that these words are said in reference to people who contested the legitimacy of the priesthood. Davar acher, another interpretation. Ra'ah, he saw, she'atidin ha'choshmonai. He saw, this is Moses saw, through his prophetic vision, he saw the Hasmoneans and his children, meaning, of course, Mattathias. The Hasmonean was a family, was a Kohanic family. There were 24 priestly divisions, each have a name of the family. So they were the Hasmoneans. I don't know if we have all 24 preserved. It's quite possible that we do, that have the names of all 24. And each one of them essentially would serve 2 weeks in the temple. So they'd each get a turn. But I think the way it happened is that they'd serve a week at a time and then cycle through and serve one more week in the course of a year. Okay, so he saw that the Hasmonean and his sons, lehilachem im ovdei kochavim, that they would in fact battle with the idolaters, the hitpalel alehem, and Moses prayed regarding them, the fi shehayu mu'atim, because there were so few of them. Right, you had this entire Syrian Greek army, right, from one of the three pieces of Alexander the Great's empire, right? It's split into 3 parts, I believe. So at any rate, they were still very large, and they were only Yud Bet 12, 10 plus 2, 12 Bnei Hashmonai, sons of Hasmon and Elazar, Keneged, against Kama Revavot, several tens of thousands. L'chach ne'emar, and for this reason, he said, that is, Moses said, Barech Hashem Chaylo, may the Lord bless. Well, Chayil can mean a soldier, right? it can mean that too. So in other words, a double meaning of chelo, his soldiers, for all yadav tirtzeh, and the work of his hands, may it be acceptable. Umisanav min yekumun, right? And as to his enemies, those who hate him, okay, who will stand? In other words, it's in a rhetorical sense. Machatz kamav, right? So pressing down on those, or he pushes down, he's able to overcome those who arise against him. Umisanav, and those who hate him, mihiyot lahem tkuma, to prevent them from having a standing, from being able to do that. It's an interesting way of saying it. So that is Levi, and we will stop right there. I'm going to put the bookmark.
So is this an internal, smiting the loins of the foes and etc.? This is internal, correct? Within the Israelites community.
Well, but not if we're talking about the Hasmoneans against the.
But there were other Kohanic families who were doing Greeky things, weren't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
but I
at that time.
Yeah, that's true. But my sense is he did say idol worshippers, and generally when he's referring to idol worshippers,
Okay.
to outside external enemies.
Okay.
I believe.
All right. At first, I thought it was only internal, and then we got into the little later stuff. But okay.
Yeah, the other interpretation.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop the share here, and let's see how we're doing. We've got a minute, don't we? Looks to me like we do. If everyone's comfortable about showing themselves. Oh, let me stop the recording.